Hello and welcome YouTube and Dawn community. Today I want to talk about the Blightlord Grenado Defiler. This is a vitality endgame build and it is, well, one of the ways to make the arguably weakest class of the game actually good at doing endgame stuff. I used this build initially as my starter build for Season 5 and then slowly developed it into this build that you see right here. This build obviously can do all campaign bosses, it can also clear Shadow Realm like 15, which in a standard game would represent a Shadow Realm 75 to 76 run, and then also it can do pretty much all the league specific boundless dungeons all the way to boundless 15 with generally no problem whatsoever, at least if you play around the playstyle that this build incorporates, which is a cooldown reduction based kiting caster. That, to be fair, does get a bit more damage through like shotgunning Ravenous Earth if you actually can stand your ground, which you can most of the time, but sometimes you do have to kite around a bit. However, the build obviously uses Mark of Torment, which does help you a lot when it comes to facing enemies. I also use this build to defeat Lokar, to farm the Lokar set, to defeat the Bourbon clones, and to defeat Mokjogun. A Defiler is made from a Demolitionist and a Necromancer, and this is my skill setup for the Demolitionist side. So we have 12 points in Flame Touched, 1 point in Temper, 10 points in Blast Shield, 12 points in the Cocktail with a Transmuter, then 14 points in Demon Fire for the damage reduction, and then 20 points in Agonizing Flames for the flat resistance reduction. Then I have 1 point in Vindictive Flame and 1 point in Unzin's Wrath, as well as a maxed out Grenado, at least to like the extent that my skills get me to, and then 5 points in the secondary of Grenado, which is basically, I would dump like all my remaining points here, but I do want to like prioritize some other points first, like for example getting the Shattering Blast, the last node in Grenado, to 4 out of 12 points, because at that point you do still get some decent crit damage percent. Higher points are a bit less, I mean still like good, but the build is kind of point start, so that's just where I stopped for now. Then 1 point in the Thermite Mines just to give me the vitality resistance reduction that they gain via items. And then 9 points in Odin's Chosen, because up to 9 points you get at least 2% chance to reset your cooldown on Grenado, and also of course with a total damage modified on this. Of course you can, if you have again more points, put more points here to get more damage, just like you can put more points into High Impact. We only have 5 out of 12 points right now, but yeah, this is what I used on this build as I played it. On the Necromancer side, you obviously want to max out Spectral Binding and Spectral Wrath for HP, OA, and also Vitality Resistance Shred, and then you want to max out the Ravenous Earth line, because, well, you're playing the Blightlord set, which is a set that you play around Ravenous Earth. So 25 out of 16 points in Ravenous Earth itself, 22 out of 12 points in Decay. Again, also kind of like for damage reduction, the Demon Fire on Cocktail side was also maxed out, not because of damage reduction necessarily, because DK actually provides you more here, but rather because of the Chaos to Vitality conversion that you have on your items. And then the last node, Fire Eruption, only 1 point here, because the resistance reduction on this one is kind of unreliable. It is a on kill, like on death, proc on enemies kinda, and also only works if you kill the enemy with Ravenous Earth. It does not work with any other skill. Actually kills the enemy, so it is kind of like unreliable, so I didn't really like invest anything here. Call of the Grave, 4 out of 10 points, which I think it translates to 2 points put in here, because until like 4 you get like a bit more value, then like after that a bit less, and then you would get more again after like 10 points, so like at 11, 12 and so on, but yeah, I don't know, I don't have enough points again on this build, so that's where I just stopped. 6 points in Mark of Torment is kind of like a standard, because you get like the highest amount of value when it comes to your damage reduction, or like damage absorption rather, at 6 out of 10 points, and after that it kind of is not as great anymore. You can still put points there of course, but yeah, again, point starved. 14 out of 12 points in Harbinger of Souls though. This is just like a nice exclusive here for vitality damage, gives me like casting speed as well as percent vitality damage, which is very nice on this build. Now if you look at the devotion page, you can see that I'm using not the standard vitality page, but kind of. I'm basically using the Obelisk of Men here instead of a tier 2 devotion with resistance reduction like Revenant or Scales of Ulkama, like a flat resistance reduction devotion. And the reason for that is because I'm using Agonizing Flames on the Blackwater Cocktail, so, well, that kind of the resistance reduction does not stack with like Raise the Deads or Tip the Scales, so I do not need to pick either of those. Instead, I can just focus on getting more armor and defensive ability through Obelisk of Men here. Then of course mandatory for vitality damage is Retosh, right? Retosh for the resistance reduction, and also Dying God is very nice. I put this one on Grenado, and yeah, this is also a very nice boost to your vitality damage. Then of course you also want Venigo usually on vitality builds, and then in this case on this particular build I also used Bat for healing. This is not always mandatory for Vit, but it's kind of nice here in this case because there's, well, not too many ways to heal on this character actually, for a vitality build at least. And then Turtle is just really nice nowadays. It's very, very good. It has like some absorption. It's just like another like circuit breaker slash safety net if you're playing hardcore. I can heavily recommend it. And the rest is kind of mostly just like filler, but of course filler in a smart way so that you're like affinity efficient and also that you get like kind of like the best stats that you want while also like providing the affinity for your tier 3 devotions. So you're gonna need 8 red, 15 blue, 10 green and 6 yellow, as well as, yeah, 8 yellow actually for Obelisk of Men here. So this basically checks out, right? You have 8 red, 10 green, 8 yellow, 15 blue, and you get there with, for example, Lantern, Jackal, Lizard, Turtle, Eel, Panther, Lotus, Bat, and Wendigo. There are of course other variants that you can do here, and if you, for example, do not know how to get Oclane's Lantern because it has 10 requirement, but it provides 3, well, obviously how you get to this first is by picking something like the Candle, for example, first, right? You pick Candle first and you are at 11 green points, then you get the Lantern, and then after getting the Lantern, completing the Lantern, you can remove the points here again and then fill out your tier 3s. So if you are doing this basically at home yourself, then try to remember that once you want to do like an endgame page like this, do not fill out the tier 3s first. Try to like fill out the tier 1s and tier 2s first, and do take some additional tier 1s if you, well, need more affinity for a tier 2. And then once you have all the tier 1s and tier 2s, you can remove all the tier 1s and tier 2s that you don't need and then fill out your remaining tier 3s. For leveling, of course, you do not necessarily want to do it like that. You do actually want to rather rush the good devotions. And what I did for leveling is Jackal first, pretty much kind of what I always do, honestly, of vitality builds. And then I kind of want to go for Wendigo, but you also do want the Bat, I think, pretty early on. So Bat is my second choice here that I took while leveling. And then for Wendigo, I would need more blues. And this kind of depends on, like, do you want more safety or more offense early? If you want more safety early, you should go Turtle next, right? Like Jackal, Bat, and then Turtle. If you want more offense earlier, you can also just rush like Crossroads and Eel, and then go to Wendigo right away. But yeah, usually you would take like Turtle and then Panther and then Wendigo. And then you want to go towards Retosh. Retosh would need 6 yellow, so you also gotta pick Lotus on top. And then the 10 greens, which means for 10 greens you pick, as I said, like for example, Scroll's Light first, and then you can remove it for Oclane's Lantern. Then you have 3, 6, 9, 10 greens from Crossroads, and you can instantly go for your Retosh. And then after Retosh you would work on the blues and like grab Dying God and then last Obelisk of Men here. This is the build, right? Defiler, Blightlord set, 4-piece, Word of Solile, with, well, the season Ultos mark with a little bit higher CD art than usual. Season of the Fallen, mythical curse bearer with a menacing prefix because of the leak mechanic. Dark Flame chest guard for fire to Vit conversion, plus 3 decay, plus 3 agonizing flames, and a dominator's prefix giving me additional Fizz, which does nothing against Smoke Dragon, honestly. Wendigo main leggings, a craftable green belt, incorruptible of destruction. Obviously in the league it's easier to get like pre and suffix of your, well, like whatever you want, right? This gives me no damage though, like honestly of destruction is a rare suffix, but it's not like best in slot at all. Thunderstruck of Tormented Souls here on this one. Thunderstruck is good for the Sunrise. Of Tormented Soul is like okay for like other stuff, right? And then these boots.